I'm John Linkove, and this is the video review of the 2026 Nissan Sentra. With the demise of the subcompact car category, compact sedans like the Sentra are pretty much the smallest cars you could buy today. The Sentra matches up against models such as the Toyota Corolla, the Hyundai Elantra, and the Mazda 3. Go to consumerreports.org to see how the Sentra matches up against those competitors as well as others in the category. For our test program, we purchased a 2026 Nissan Sentra SV trim with an MSRP of $23,370. We added 3 option packages that totaled $1,530, and with the $1,245 destination charge, the total price came out to $26,145. The final assembly point for the Sentra is Mexico. So the previous generation Sentra was a good car. In fact, in its final year for 2025, it was reliable enough and performed well enough on our testing to be ranked in the top 5 among compact cars. Nissan didn't really make a huge change with the Sentra outside the sheet metal. So consider the 2026 model a significant freshening rather than a total redesign. The powertrain was pretty much carried over from the previous generation car. That means it's a 149 horsepower, 2-liter 4-cylinder that's paired with a continuously variable transmission driving the front wheels. Nissan says that it retuned the transmission to give it more natural feeling shifts, much like a conventional automatic transmission. But overall, it's pretty much the same as last year, which is a fine thing. So the Sentra is offered in 4 trims, each of which start at less than $30,000. The base S trim starts at $22,600, which is followed by the SV trim that we got, which has a base price of $23,370. The SR is the next in line, which is the sporty version, and it starts at $25,000 even. Finally, the SL is the top of the line at $27,990. So the biggest difference with the Sentra from last generation to this generation is going to be in the exterior and interior design. For example, you got the whole new Nissan nose here. SR versions get a much fancier sporty grille. Base models get 16-inch steel wheels. Ours have aluminum alloy 16-inch wheels, which are a little nicer. The SL gets 17-inch wheels, and the SR, the performance version, gets 18-inch wheels. Aside from that, every Sentra pretty much looks alike styling-wise, except the SR, which has ground effect, sills, has a spoiler, has a different taillight as well. We have the heated side mirrors with LED turn signal indicators, and also across the back, LED taillights are standard across the line, with the SR getting slightly different look on the bar across, as well as it has a more visible exhaust pipe out there, chrome tips. Aside from that, it's a very handsome, if not exciting sedan, but that's what the category is. More function over form. So one of the nice things about the styling is that, at least for the front, not really hard to get in, not much ducking needed. The rear, you can see the roof line drops down a little more. There is a little ducking in the rear seat, but we'll get to that. What we really like about this Sentra, first of all, real door handles. No digital, electric, touchy things that don't work, that don't react. Very simple door handles with a nice proximity sensor. So you got the key in your hand, you walk up, press the button, it opens up. So many manufacturers have weird systems with touch-sensitive surfaces that makes it impossible to get in smoothly. Once you come up to it, you don't have to really drop down nearly as much as, say, in a Honda Civic. It's pretty low sill, not too wide. Easy to step right in, no real ducking needed. So when you plop down into the Sentra, the first thing you're gonna touch, pretty much the seats. And overall, they're good. The seats have almost like a pillow topper feel at first. So, you sit down and there's a little softness, but you could still feel that the base of the seat is firm foam, very supportive, keeps its contour during long drives. There's a decent pocket, so you plop down a little pocket that holds you, so you're not sitting on the seat, you're not sitting particularly deep in the seat. It's a very good balance of firmness and cushioning. Decent side bolsters on the side, adjustable head restraint up top. Some of the biggest complaints about the seats really were that there's just a lack of adjustments. The base model and our SV have manual seat adjustments. There's not really a way to adjust the front leading edge of the seat, so you can't raise or lower the bottom cushion at all for better or less underleg support. There's no adjustable lumbar either on the SV trim that we have. You have to go up to the next SR to get a power driver's seat, which has adjustable lumbar. So other positives about the interior are most of the controls. First of all, we really like the fact that it has a normal traditional gear selector. Unlike the Murano, unlike the Armada, unlike the Leaf, no buttons for the transmission for selecting the gears. That's great. Buttons down here on the side for the drive mode, for turning on and off the auto stop start. You've got nice high quality feeling stalks on the steering wheel, as well as real buttons here on the steering wheel. not touch-sensitive surfaces. They're just very simple, very straightforward. They feel firm. They have good reaction. You know you pressed it. You know it engaged. It's really nice to see a volume knob here, and there's 2 manual buttons to go forward and backwards with the radio. The buttons are right here, easy enough to reach. Nice to have a start-stop button that's not hidden away. Manual vents that you can adjust, you can block off, turn off, adjust manually. You don't have to go through the screen, which we see in so many cars, even less expensive models. In addition, even though they're like plasticky controls on the door, they fall right to hand. So you have the mirror controls, you have the lock buttons, and you have the window controls, including the automatic up and down driver's window. They all fall to hand, they're very easy, and they all just work simply like a traditional car. Finally, small item storage is actually pretty good. There's 2 nice deep cup holders with really good detents that hold a bottle, a smaller cup of coffee, a smaller bottle in place. Up front, you have a QI charging pad, so wireless charging for your cell phone, 2 USB-C ports, and underneath the center armrest, it's plastic again because it's a Class, but it's a very, very deep storage compartment for all kinds of stuff. Okay, so it's kind of common in the category, but we're gonna call it out. The glove box, it just falls open. We carry an extra book in here as well as the owner's manual and such. It just flops down on the person's legs who's sitting there. It could be a little better dampened, but that's not really the biggest thing. Really, the biggest thing here is the climate control panel underneath. Now, the base car gets manual climate controls, but SV and above all get these touch-sensitive controls. So really the biggest issue here is that function follows form. Everything's touch-sensitive. There's a little beep. You don't get any kind of haptic touch feedback when you do something. So you press it, and you could hear a small beep. If you've got the climate control going higher, if you've got the radio on, if you've got people talking or even the windows down, you're not really going to hear the beep. Plenty of Consumer Reports testers have said like, yeah, I didn't really realize that there was a beep and I didn't know I was pressing something, so I had to take my eyes off of the road to make sure that I actually hit the right spot. It's very hard to necessarily hit it. You could go around the spot. Whereas with a button that's physical, you can feel the button go in and out. You could feel if you don't hit the button, you know that you're there. There's no feedback whatsoever unless there's a little beep. Also, the climate controls do extend up into the screen. And Nissan is doing something weird with all their screens. It is a big screen, but they clutter all these little controls at the bottom. So while you're driving, if you want to adjust something such as the heated steering wheel, so there's a button on the side, but if you go through the screen and you call it up, you have to hit small little spots to make sure that it's accurate. But to get this spot here, it's a very, very, very small little button. It's nice that you have multiple places where you can access the heated seats and the heated steering wheel, but getting in there is really annoying. Same type of thing with the settings, same type of thing with adjustments. They're all real small little buttons. Sometimes the system also, it's a bit slow. A number of testers said that they had a problem connecting Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. As far as fit and finish goes, the interior is totally fine. Nice soft materials. They're not the softest on the dash, but it's better than hard plastic. Some little trim across here, red accents throughout the interior. Soft materials such as the center armrest, the door armrest. They're not plush, but they're not hard. No, they work perfectly fine. There's a lot of hard plastic, but it looks like it's sturdy enough to handle some abuse. And that pretty much is what it is for this kind of category of car. All right, so let's go to the back seat. Okay, so getting the back seat a little more ducking than the front seat, but not awful. There are far worse vehicles out there. Foot room, toe room, really good. There's a low center tunnel. It's front wheel drive. There's not a drive shaft going back here, but still very low. So this person who's sitting in the center, yeah, you're sitting with your feet on the perch, but still it's much better than some other cars where your feet are up like this. Seats are firm, again, much like the front. They have a nice soft, almost like a pillow topper from the mattress again, and then it's a firmness underneath. Good contour, good little bucket that you're sitting in. One interesting thing, no center armrest here. Certainly like a little cost cutting. Remember the days armrest folds down and you have cup holders? That's not there. One USB-C for your device to charge. Bottle holders in the door. Fine headroom for me. I'm about 6 feet tall, no issues there. The seats fold in a 60-40 split, which access through the trunk. It's a fine overall, nice space. Great for, 3 kids in the back, no problem. All right, so let's go check out the trunk. So standard trunk in the car. There's a nice little touchpad underneath, nicely damped hinges. As you can see, there's pull levers to drop the 60-40 split seats. Not too high of a lift over here. Nice little carpeted area, nice carpeted pad underneath. Lift up, and you've got a tire inflator kit. No spare tire on the Nissan Sentra. All right, let's take it out on the track and see how it handles. Overall, it's a pretty enjoyable driving experience. There's nothing exciting about driving the Sentra, but there's nothing really bad about it. The biggest demerit it has is that sometimes it's hard to take off smoothly. It feels almost like it wants to lurch forward. It's easy to spin the tires, actually. 149 horsepower, I know it's all about torque. Means you can light up the tires fairly easily. That really shows itself when you're making, say, a left turn out of a side street onto a busier street. Very easy to drive. The CVT acts pretty much like a normal automatic transmission with the simulated downshifts and upshifts. So, you don't have the engine flaring, which is when the CVT lets the engine rise to, say, 5, 6, 7,000 RPM, and then it holds it. Doesn't do that. You accelerate, it shifts. Accelerate, it shifts. So according to the Environmental Protection Agency, the Sentra will get between 32 and 33 miles per gallon. That depends on the trim because of tire size and such. Really, the one drawback for Nissan is that this is the only engine, and it's a conventional gas engine. There's no hybrid powertrain offered. So unlike Toyota Corolla hybrid, Honda Civic hybrid, all of those get significantly better fuel economy for not a significantly larger amount of money. That is a problem. That's a drawback. If you're looking to really maximize your savings in the category, you could buy one of those, spend a little more, but get significantly better savings overall. So handling could be considered one of the best parts of the vehicle. All of the Sentras have the same suspension. They have a multi-link rear suspension, which is actually unique in the category. Steering has a very good amount of heft and weight to it. It's not the most communicative, but it certainly isn't the least. The driver does know where the tires are pointed. It can get a good feel on tire grip for the surface. There's a little bit of body lean, but it's well contained. The SR trim has wider 18-inch wheels, which definitely give it more grip, but the narrower 16-inch wheels on our SV trim give plenty of grip for going around corners. On the downside, the Sentra's ride is a little bit on the stiff side. Certainly the 16-inch wheels and tires on the SV trim do a little bit better job of bump absorption than the 18-inch wheels and tires on the SR. That really has a stiff ride. This one's fine. Going over single bumps is okay. Going over transverse ridges, so big crack in the highway, those types of bumps are all right. But really the Sentra falls apart when you get multiple bumps, so a washboard type road or just a really poorly maintained road. Then it has a hard time recovering and absorbing the bumps, so you really feel them through. There are big bumps, such as a single wheel impact on a pothole. You do feel they punch through to be noticeable, but it's not a jarring impact. So a stiff ride, fairly good bump absorption, but not stellar. Another weak point for the Sentra, which is kind of a common for the category, is that the car is noisy. It's not going to have the most sound absorption materials in it, so like a luxury car. So wind noise on the highway, road noise at all times. There is just a lot of tire noise, a lot of road noise, a lot of thrum coming on from the tires going over the surface. Wind noise certainly amps up once you get onto the highway. But engine noise is actually, it's a decent note. It's a pleasant note, not the most invigorating engine note, but it's fine. And because the continuously variable transmission has those shifts, you don't get the engine hanging up in a really high RPM. Our testers had a mix of opinions on driving position. Some people felt that the way they had to sit in order to get their legs to a comfortable position, they sat a little bit too far from the infotainment system, so they felt it was a long reach to that. Other drivers said no, they were of the right size where they were able to get a good spot between pedal placement and knee space, as well as the steering wheel in relation to their body. People who sat a little splay-legged, they did feel some intrusion from the center console. Now, our version of the Sentra has the convenience package, which has an additional little bit of soft material on the center console. It feels a little bit more like softer plastic than necessarily super soft material. But for those drivers like me who tend to sit a little closer and have a splay-legged driving position, it's nice to be able to rest your right knee against something soft than a really hard seam or a hard piece of plastic. A couple of our testers did note that when they adjusted the steering wheel to a position that they liked, they found that it blocked some of the gauges. Personally, the way I find this position is that I can see all the gauges, but the way Nissan has its brightness controls for the gauge cluster in the center console, the center screen, I can't see those from the steering wheel. I have to actually look around to the side or reach around and find those digital buttons. Visibility is good all around. The dash is fairly low. The gauge cluster and the center screen are 12.5-inch screens that are butted together, and they sit fairly low on the dash. So there's a very good view out over the front, over the hood. The hood drops away, but it's easy to see and kind of figure out where the front of the car is. The windshield pillars are a fair thickness. They're not great, they're not awful. There's not any real space though between the driver's side or the passenger side mirror and the windshield pillar. So you don't have kind of a little cut through where you can see someone walking. Still, the side mirrors aren't overly large. They don't really block a lot of your view. The roofline is high enough and the windshield is big enough so that you can pretty much see what's going on in an intersection. You're not going to miss a pedestrian coming in from your right side. You're not going to miss a car coming in from the left or the right side. The view out the back, it's blocked a little bit by the head restraints. It's fixed head restraints on the driver and passenger side in the second row, as well as the little center head restraint. It's a little lower, but it's still, that one's blocked by the Chimsel, the center high-mounted safety, the stop lamp. Over the shoulder, thin B-pillar, not a lot going on with the seatbelt location and anchors. So it's easy to make a big, a little twist over your shoulder on the left side to see if someone's in your blind spot. Certainly if you do sit closer, the head restraint of the seat might be near the B-pillar and then block that little bit. But for taller people, you can easily see over your shoulder and make a quick view. Same with the right. The windows are big, square. They nicely go all the way down into the door when lowered. And you can just make a quick glance over there and see if someone's in your blind spot on your right side as well. The standard backup camera drew some mixed reviews from our testers because it's a very wide image, but the quality of the video, the quality of the image isn't really that great. You can't change it either because we don't have any sort of bird's eye or 360-degree view that is available on higher trim cars. So all Sentras come standard with core safety features that Consumer Reports endorses. Forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic warning. It has, in this trim, distance sensing cruise control, so you can adjust the distance between the Sentra and the vehicle in front of you. Doesn't have any kind of driving assistance. There's no Pro Pilot Assist or Pro Pilot Assist Plus on the Sentra. It's very straightforward, but has all the key features which we like to see. Don't have to pay extra to get safety. In addition, the Sentra has a rear seat reminder so that if you've opened the doors to the rear seat, had someone in there, end up turning off the car, putting it in park, turning it off, it will remind you to check in the back seat to look for a child or a pet. Overall, the 2026 Nissan Sentra matches up well with its competitors in terms of cabin room, driving experience, performance, handling. It's a very solid compact sedan and it's priced attractively. For full test results of the 2026 Nissan Sentra, as well as its competitors, go to consumerreports.org.